Victoria stood up from the table, right in the middle of my 60th birthday dinner, holding her wine glass with that fake elegance she always uses to impress. There were 80 guests that night. 80 people I had welcomed into my own home, preparing every detail for days. Then she pointed toward my sister, Sarah, who had just arrived in a simple dress and a warm smile, and she shouted in front of everyone, who would sit next to her at the table. You can see the poverty on her face. The silence that followed was so heavy I could feel it in my chest. 80 pairs of eyes locked onto Sarah, then onto me, then back to Victoria. My sister froze in the doorway, the small gift wrapped in plain paper still in her hands. Her face shifted from joy to confusion, and then to something worse. Shame. I wanted to scream. I wanted to defend her. But my son, Michael, was there, standing next to his wife, and he said nothing. Absolutely nothing. Today, I turned 60 years old. 60 years of life, of work, of building everything I have with my own 2 hands. This house where we are all gathered, I bought it myself, after years of cleaning offices and looking after other people's children while raising my son. Every piece of furniture, every plate on this table, every crystal glass the guests are holding came from my own effort. Victoria arrived 2 hours ago with Michael, and from the moment she walked through the door, I knew something was going to happen. She was wearing a black dress that probably cost more than my rent for 3 months. Her makeup was perfect, her hair pulled back in a high bun that made her look like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. She wore heels so high they clicked against my living room floor with every step. Michael trailed behind her, in a dark suit and a nervous smile. My son, the boy I raised alone after his father left us. The same one who used to hug me and tell me I was the strongest woman in the world. Victoria kissed my cheek without actually touching me, leaving only the sound of the kiss in the air. She handed me a large box wrapped in gold paper with a silver bow so big it looked like a Christmas tree ornament. "Happy birthday, Eleanor," she said in that sweet voice she uses when people are watching. "This is from Michael and me. We wanted to get you something special." All the guests gathered around to see. Sarah was by my side, smiling, waiting for me to open the gift. My cousins were whispering excitedly. Even the neighbors paused their conversations to pay attention. I opened the box slowly. Inside was a thick envelope from a travel agency. I pulled it out with trembling hands and read, "Caribbean cruise, 15 days, all-inclusive, departure in 2 months." The room exploded in applause and excited shouts. My friends hugged me. My cousins yelled about how lucky I was, what a good son I had, how generous his wife was. Victoria smiled as if she had just won an award. She stood next to me, putting her arm around me in a way that seemed affectionate but made me feel small. "We just wanted Eleanor to have a real vacation," she said loudly, so everyone could hear. "She's sacrificed so much in her life. She's never known anything nice, never even been out of this state. We thought it was about time she experienced something better." Her words sounded beautiful. Everyone nodded, moved. But I felt a strange knot in my stomach, something I couldn't name yet. "Thank you," I said, my voice a little shaky. It's too much." "Nothing is too much for you," Michael replied, stepping forward to hug me. But his hug felt mechanical, like he was doing it because he was supposed to, not because he wanted to. The party went on. Victoria moved among the guests as if she were the hostess. She refilled glasses, offered food, smiled, and chatted with every single person. I stood in a corner, holding the cruise envelope, feeling like my own birthday was no longer mine. Sarah came over and touched my shoulder. "Are you okay?" "Yes," I lied. "I'm just a little overwhelmed." "It's an incredible gift," she said, but there was a hint of doubt in her voice. Sarah always knew me too well. Victoria suddenly appeared beside us with a tray of champagne glasses. "Eleanor, you should make a toast. It's your birthday." I took a glass, and Victoria raised hers. "Attention, everyone," she called out, and the room fell silent. "I want to propose a toast to the birthday girl. To Eleanor, who has worked so hard her whole life. May she finally be able to rest and enjoy herself. May she know that she now has someone to take care of her." The last words hit me. May she know that she now has someone to take care of her, as if I were a helpless old woman, as if I couldn't take care of myself anymore, as if I needed her charity. Everyone toasted. Everyone smiled. No one noticed the tension in my jaw. Michael approached me after the toast. "Mom, did you like the gift?" "Yes, son. It's beautiful. Victoria insisted it be something big. She says you deserve it." "She insisted?" I asked, and something in my tone made Michael look away. "Well, we both decided on it together. But she was the one who found the deal and arranged everything." Victoria reappeared, taking Michael by the arm. "Have you told her about the other surprise?" I felt the air leave my lungs. "Another surprise?" "Yes," Victoria said with a radiant smile. "While you're on your trip, Michael and I are going to remodel your house. New kitchen, new bathrooms, new floors, everything. We want you to come back to a completely renovated home." The guests applauded again, but I was frozen. "Remodel my house? It's our extra gift," Michael said quickly. "Victoria has great taste for these things. It's going to look beautiful." "But this is my house," I said in a low voice. "Exactly," Victoria replied. "And you deserve for it to be nice, modern. Don't you worry about a thing. We'll take care of everything." Something inside me broke at that moment, but I said nothing. I just nodded and smiled because there were 80 people watching me, expecting me to look happy and grateful. And that's when Sarah arrived, my older sister, the one who took care of me when we were girls, the one who lent me money when Michael was a baby and I couldn't pay the rent, the one who was always there, no matter what. Sarah arrived in her simple floral dress, no jewelry, no elaborate makeup. She brought her gift wrapped in newspaper, decorated with a red ribbon she had surely saved from another occasion. She arrived with that smile that always made me feel at home. And Victoria looked her up and down with contempt. That's when my daughter-in-law stood up, held her glass, pointed at Sarah, and said those words I will never forget. Those words that made all the guests fall silent. Those words that showed me who the woman my son had chosen really was. Who would sit next to her at the table? You can see the poverty on her face. Sarah stood motionless in the doorway. The gift fell from her hands. I saw her eyes well up with tears that she refused to let fall. I saw her back stoop slightly, as if she'd just been struck. I looked at Michael, my son, waiting for him to say something, to defend his aunt, to put his wife in her place. But Michael just looked away and took a sip from his glass. Victoria laughed. A soft, almost delicate laugh, as if she'd just made a witty joke. A few guests laughed with her, uncomfortably, not knowing what else to do. I stood up. I walked over to Sarah and hugged her. "Don't pay any attention to her," I whispered in her ear. "She doesn't know anything." But Sarah gently pulled away. "I'd better go, Eleanor. I don't want to ruin your party." "You're not ruining anything. You're staying." Victoria sighed dramatically from her seat. "Oh, Eleanor, always so noble. But it's true that perhaps your sister would be more comfortable somewhere else. This gathering is a little too sophisticated for her." I felt something inside me snap. Something that had been holding on for years. For decades. Something that could no longer hold. But I said nothing. Not yet, because there were 80 people in my house. Because it was my birthday. Because Michael was still looking away, as if none of this was happening. Sarah left. She walked out of my house with her head held low, and I couldn't stop her because Victoria was already calling for us to cut the cake, and everyone moved toward the table, and the party continued, as if my sister had never existed. That night, while everyone ate and laughed and celebrated, I sat at my own party feeling like something terrible had just begun. The party went on, as if nothing had happened. As if my sister hadn't just been humiliated and driven from my own home. As if Victoria's words hadn't left an open wound in the middle of my living room. Victoria moved among the guests with a glass in her hand, smiling, touching arms, leaning in to listen to conversations. She looked like the perfect hostess. It seemed like this was her house, her party, her night. I remained seated next to the untouched cake, watching as my daughter-in-law controlled every corner of my birthday. "Eleanor, aren't you going to eat?" my cousin Megan asked, approaching with a full plate. "The cake is delicious." "In a minute," I said, forcing a smile. Victoria appeared behind Megan and placed a hand on my shoulder. "Eleanor is just a little tired. At this age, long parties can be exhausting." At this age. As if being 60 turned me into a frail old woman. Megan nodded sympathetically. You're right. Eleanor, you should get some rest. I'm fine, I insisted, but Victoria was already guiding Megan toward another group of people. Michael came over with his empty plate. Mom, the food was incredible. As always. Thank you, son. He stood there awkwardly, as if he wanted to say something but didn't know how. Finally, he asked, Are you happy with the cruise? Yes, Victoria worked hard to find the best deal. She wanted it to be perfect. He didn't mention Sarah. Nothing about how his wife had just humiliated his aunt in front of 80 people. Nothing. Michael, I said in a low voice. What Victoria said to your aunt. Mom, don't start. His tone changed instantly. He became tense. Victoria was just kidding around. You know how she is. Kidding around? Your aunt left in tears. Sarah is very sensitive. She's always been that way. Michael glanced over at Victoria, as if seeking her approval. Besides, you know Sarah sometimes doesn't dress appropriately for these kinds of occasions. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Appropriately? She's my sister, Michael. Your aunt. The woman who took care of you when I had to work double shifts. I know that, Mom. But things are different now. Victoria and I move in different circles. We have an image to maintain. Your image? I repeated, a bitter taste in my throat. Since when do you care more about your image than your family? Michael sighed, annoyed. I don't want to argue on your birthday. I'm going to see if Victoria needs anything. And he left. My son left me sitting there, with all my unanswered questions and a growing ache in my chest. Victoria picked up the microphone we had been using for music and tapped it gently to get everyone's attention. Excuse me, I just want to say a few more words. Everyone quieted down and turned to face her. Victoria stood in the middle of the living room, under the main light, as if she were on a stage. I want to thank you all for coming to celebrate Eleanor. I know for many of you it was a bit of a challenge to get here. She paused and looked around with a condescending smile. This neighborhood isn't exactly the most accessible. A few guests gave uncomfortable laughs. I felt the blood rush to my face. This was my neighborhood, the place I had lived for 30 years, where I had raised my son, where I knew every neighbor by name. But anyway, Victoria continued, the important thing is that we're here, celebrating a woman who has worked so hard her whole life. Eleanor never had the opportunities that many of us had. She was never able to go to college, never able to travel, never able to afford the luxuries she deserved. Every word was like a slap. She made my life sound like a failure, as if everything I had accomplished was worthless. That's why Michael and I want to make sure her later years are different, that she can finally live in comfort, that she doesn't have to worry about anything. Her later years, as if my life were already ending, as if all I had left to do was wait for the end. And we want all of you to know, Victoria said, looking directly at my friends and cousins, that Eleanor is no longer alone, that she now has family who can take care of her, that she can lean on us for everything. Applause filled the room. Everyone thought Victoria was wonderful. Everyone believed she was being generous and loving to her mother-in-law. But I heard something different in her words. I heard control. I heard possession. I heard the real message. Eleanor doesn't make her own decisions anymore. We make them for her now. After the speech, Victoria started arranging where everyone would sit for dinner. She moved my cousin Jessica from her spot because that chair has a better view. She told my neighbor Kevin to switch seats because we need to balance the table. She controlled every detail as if it were her house, and no one said a thing. Everyone obeyed. I stayed in my seat, feeling like a guest at my own party. My friend Megan sat down next to me. We've known each other for 20 years. She looked at me with concern. Eleanor, are you okay? You look tired. I'm fine, I lied again. Your daughter-in-law is very active. Yes. Megan lowered her voice. Did you ask her to organize all this? No, she offered. I see. Megan said no more, but I saw in her eyes that she understood, that she had noticed the same thing I had. Victoria walked past us and overheard part of the conversation. She sat on the other side of me, too close. What are you two talking about? Nothing important, Megan said quickly. Ah, Victoria took my hand and squeezed it. Eleanor, I hope you're enjoying your party. I know you're not used to these kinds of elegant events. Elegant events. This was a dinner in my house with my friends and family. It wasn't a gala, it wasn't a business event. It was my birthday. I'm enjoying it, I said, gently pulling my hand away. I'm glad. Victoria smiled and leaned in to whisper in my ear, but she did it loudly enough for Megan to hear. I just want you to know that this is only the beginning. Michael and I have a lot of plans for you. We're going to make sure your life changes completely. She stood up and walked away before I could respond. Megan looked at me, her eyes wide. Eleanor, don't say anything, I asked her. Please. The hours passed slowly. Victoria remained the center of attention. She talked about her travels, the expensive restaurants where she ate, the boutiques where she bought her clothes. My guests listened, fascinated, as if she were a celebrity. Michael was always by her side, nodding, smiling, adding details to her stories. My son seemed different. He seemed like someone I didn't know. At one point, I heard Victoria talking to a group of neighbors. Yes, honestly, when Michael first brought me to this house, I was a little surprised. But, well, Eleanor did the best she could with what she had. The neighbors didn't know what to say. It was my house, the house I had bought with my money, the house where I had raised my son alone. And she was talking about it as if it were a charity case. One of the neighbors, Mr. Henderson, said, "This house has a lot of history. Eleanor got it when no one would give her a loan. She worked 3 jobs to pay for it." Victoria smiled in that way I was beginning to recognize. That smile that said one thing with her mouth but another with her eyes. How admirable! That's precisely why we want to renovate it, so it can finally have the value Eleanor deserves. "Mr." Henderson looked at me, confused. I just lowered my eyes. When the guests finally started to leave, Victoria said goodbye to each of them at the door, as if she were the owner of the house. "Thank you for coming. It was a pleasure to meet you." I was in the kitchen clearing plates, exhausted, when Michael came in. "Mom, let me help you." "There's no need." "Please." He started gathering glasses. We worked in silence for a moment, until he said, "Victoria really put in a lot of effort tonight. I hope you appreciate it." She put in effort. The words came out harsher than I intended. "Michael, this was my party. I cooked the food. I invited the people. I cleaned the house." "I know, Mom. But Victoria organized everything. The details. The gift. Everything. I didn't ask her to organize anything." Michael set the glasses in the sink with more force than necessary. "Why do you always have to be like this?" "Like what?" "Ungrateful. Victoria is trying to help you, to give you a better life. And you just look for reasons to criticize her." I was speechless. My own son was calling me ungrateful in my own kitchen, after my own birthday party, for not accepting his wife's control. "I'm not being ungrateful," I said finally. "I'm trying to understand what's happening. What's happening is that you finally have family who can take care of you. You can stop working so hard. You can relax." "I don't want to stop working. I like my work." Michael sighed as if he were talking to a stubborn child. "Mom, you're 60 years old. It's time for other people to make the important decisions." Those words hung in the air between us. It's time for other people to make the important decisions. As if I were no longer capable. As if my age had made me incompetent. Victoria walked into the kitchen. "Everything okay in here?" "Yes," Michael said quickly. "We were just talking." Victoria looked at me with that smile. "Eleanor, you should go to bed. You look exhausted. Michael and I will finish cleaning up." "It's my house," I said. "I clean my house." "Don't be silly." Victoria laughed and took the dishcloth from my hands. "You've done enough. Go rest." I stood there, holding my own empty hands, feeling like I had just lost something important, but unable to name exactly what it was. Michael and Victoria gently pushed me out of my own kitchen. I went to my room and closed the door. I sat on my bed, still in my party dress, and looked around my room. The photos of Michael as a child, his diplomas and awards, the memories of a life I had built alone, and for the first time in 60 years, I felt like a stranger in my own home. The guests left an hour ago. The house is quiet. From my bedroom, I can hear Michael and Victoria talking in the living room, their voices low but constant. I can't make out the words, but the tone is one of planning, of decisions, of things being arranged without my input. I take off my party dress and put on my old nightgown, the one with a small hole in the hem, but is the most comfortable one I own. I look at myself in the mirror and see a tired woman. A woman who just turned 60 and somehow lost control of her own life in a single night. I knock on the living room door before entering. Michael and Victoria are sitting on my sofa, surrounded by papers. I recognize some of them. They are the cruise brochures, remodeling catalogs, documents that shouldn't be in my house without my permission. "Mom," Michael says, looking up, "I thought you were asleep. I need to talk to you." Victoria quickly gathers the papers, as if she doesn't want me to see them. "Eleanor, it's late. Can't it wait until morning?" "No, it can't wait." Michael sighs and gives Victoria a nod. She gets up, gives me a kiss on the cheek I didn't ask for, and says, "I'll let you two talk. I'm going to finish tidying up the kitchen." When she leaves, I sit across from my son. I bought this sofa 15 years ago. I still remember the day I brought it home, how Michael helped me carry it up the stairs. He was just a boy then, full of laughter and plans. "What did you want to talk about?" Michael asks, but his tone is already defensive. "Your Aunt Sarah." Michael closes his eyes. "Mom, please." Victoria humiliated her, in front of everyone, and you said nothing. Victoria didn't humiliate her. It was an unfortunate comment. Unfortunate? I feel my voice start to break, but I force it to stay steady. She yelled that she was poor, that no one would want to sit next to her. In my house. On my birthday. Michael rubs his face with his hands. Sarah showed up dressed any which way. She made no effort. Victoria was just pointing out the obvious. Sarah came with her heart, with a gift she probably struggled to buy. With love. Love doesn't pay the bills, Mom. Michael looks at me, and in his eyes, I see something that scares me. Coldness. Victoria and I are building something. We have important contacts. People who can help us grow. We can't afford to be seen associated with people who aren't at our level. At your level? Michael, Sarah is your family. She took care of you as a baby. She fed you when I didn't have money for milk. And I'm grateful for that. But things change. I've changed. Yes, I say, a pain spreading through my chest. Yes, you have. Michael gets up and walks to the window. I didn't come here to fight with you. I came to celebrate your birthday. To give you an incredible gift. Why can't you just be grateful? I am grateful for the gift. But I'm not grateful for how Victoria treated my sister, or for how she treated me. Victoria treated you like a queen tonight. Victoria treated me as if I were incapable of managing my own life. Michael turns around sharply. Because you are. Mom, look at yourself. You live in this old house, in this dangerous neighborhood. You clean houses for a living at 60 years old. You have no savings, no retirement plan. If Victoria and I don't step in, what's going to happen to you? Every word is a blow. This house isn't old. It's my home. This neighborhood isn't dangerous. It's where I built my life. And I work because I like to work, because it gives me independence. It gives you poverty, Michael says, his voice harsh. Mom, you have to face reality. You can't keep living like this. It's time you accepted help. I don't want your help if it comes with humiliation. There's no humiliation, only honesty. Victoria says things as they are. And how are they, according to her? That I'm old, that I'm incapable, that my sister is poor and doesn't deserve a seat at my table? Michael takes a deep breath, trying to calm down. Mom, I'm not going to argue about this with you. Victoria and I made these decisions with your best interests at heart. The cruise, the remodeling, everything. We're doing it because we love you. Do you love me? Or do you want to control me? That's ridiculous. Is it? Tell me, Michael. Did I ask you to remodel my house? No, but you need it. Did I ask Victoria to organize my party? She wanted to help. Did I ask you to make decisions about my life without consulting me? Michael is silent. Victoria appears in the doorway. I don't know how long she's been standing there, listening. Eleanor, she says in a soft, almost motherly voice. I understand this is difficult for you. Change always is, especially at your age. At my age, I repeat. Victoria, I'm 60, not 80. I don't need to be cared for like a child. Victoria sits on the arm of the sofa, next to Michael. She places her hand on my son's shoulder, claiming her territory. No one is treating you like a child. We're offering you a better life, a more comfortable life. I don't want comfort if I have to lose my dignity. Dignity? Victoria laughs softly. Eleanor, what dignity is there in cleaning other people's toilets at 60 years old? What dignity is there in living in a house that's falling apart? This house is not falling apart, and my work is honest. Honest but exhausting, unnecessary. Victoria leans forward. Michael and I make enough money for the three of us. You don't have to keep sacrificing. I'm not sacrificing. I'm living my life. A very small life, Victoria says, her tone almost compassionate, which makes it hurt more. But don't worry, we're going to expand it. We're going to give you everything you never had. I don't want everything I never had. I want respect. Michael steps between us. Enough. Both of you. Mom, you're tired. Victoria, let's go. We'll continue this conversation another day. No, I say, standing up too. We're not going to continue this another day. We're going to finish it now. This is my house. I decide if it gets remodeled or not. I decide if I accept gifts or not. I decide how I live my life. Victoria exchanges a look with Michael. A look that says a lot without words. A look that excludes me completely. Eleanor, Victoria says slowly, I think you're being a little irrational. The stress of the party. The excitement of your birthday. It's understandable. That's precisely why it's good that Michael and I are here. To make sensible decisions when you can't. When I can't, I step closer to her. Victoria, I've been making decisions my entire life. Decisions that kept a roof over my head and food on the table. Decisions that raised a son on my own. Don't you dare tell me I can't decide. Things were different back then, Michael says. You were younger, more capable. I am 60 years old, not 90. My mind is perfectly clear. Victoria stands up and picks up her purse. All right, Eleanor, if that's how you feel, we'll respect your space. But think about it. Think about the cruise. About having a renovated house. About not having to work anymore. About finally being able to rest. I don't need to think about it. I already know what I want. And what do you want? Michael asks, a challenge in his voice. I want you to respect my decisions. I want you to treat me like an adult. I want you to understand that this is my life, not yours. Michael shakes his head. I can't do that, Mom. I can't stand by and watch you waste your final years working like a slave. I'm not a slave. I'm an independent woman. You're a stubborn woman, Victoria says. But eventually, you're going to need us. And when that happens, I hope you remember this conversation. They leave without a proper goodbye. Michael gives me a quick, mechanical hug. Victoria doesn't even look at me. I hear their footsteps going down the stairs, the sound of the building's front door closing. I'm left alone in my living room. I look at the papers they left on the table. I pick them up one by one. The cruise brochure has a price written on it, $12,000. The remodeling catalogs have pages folded on kitchens that cost $30,000, bathrooms that cost $15,000. Enormous numbers. Expenses I could never afford. Gifts that come with invisible strings. I go to my room and lie down, but I can't sleep. I stare at the ceiling and think about how my life changed in a single night. About how my son, the boy I raised with so much love, now speaks to me as if I'm a problem to be solved. I think about Sarah, about how she left my house humiliated and I didn't defend her enough, about how I allowed Victoria to turn my birthday into her stage. I think about Michael's words. You were younger, more capable, as if turning 60 had made me useless, as if my value as a person had an expiration date. I get up and go to the small desk in the corner of my room. I take out my account book, the one I've kept for 30 years. I check my numbers. My house is paid off. I have some savings. Not much, but enough. I work 4 houses a week, deep cleaning. I earn enough to live, to pay my bills, to have food and clothes. I'm not rich, but I'm not the desperate woman Victoria and Michael want me to be. I close the book and look out the window. The sun is beginning to rise. My neighborhood is waking up. Mr. Henderson is out sweeping his front walk. The lady on the third floor is walking her dog. Life goes on, simple and real. And I'm here, in my house, in my life, trying to understand how my own son became a stranger. I pick up my phone and dial Sarah's number. It rings several times before she answers. Eleanor? Her voice sounds tired, as if she hasn't slept either. Sarah, I'm so sorry. For not defending you. For letting her speak to you like that. There's a long silence. Then I hear Sarah take a deep breath. You don't have to apologize. It's not your fault. Yes, it is. It's my house, my family. I should have put Victoria in her place. Michael is your son. You didn't want to ruin your birthday. My birthday was already ruined the moment she opened her mouth. Sarah laughs softly, but it's a sad laugh. That woman doesn't love you, Eleanor. I don't know what she wants, but it's not your well-being. I know. And Michael. Michael is blinded by her. Be careful, Sarah says. There was something in the way she looked at you tonight, something that scared me. Me too. We talk a little longer. We plan to see each other soon. We say goodbye with promises not to let anyone come between us. But when I hang up, the fear Sarah mentioned stays with me. Because she's right. There is something about Victoria, something calculated, something dangerous, and my son is completely under her control. 5 days have passed since my birthday. 5 days in which Michael hasn't called me once. 5 days in which I've tried to focus on my work, on my routine, on maintaining a sense of normalcy. But nothing feels normal anymore. Today I have to go to the bank. I need to deposit this week's pay and check the balance of my savings account. It's something I do every month, religiously, and have for years. I like to know exactly how much I have, how much I spend, how much I can save. The bank is a 20-minute walk from my house. It's a cool morning, and the streets are full of people on their way to work. I like to walk. It gives me time to think, to breathe, to feel like a part of the world. I enter the bank and take a number. There are several people waiting. I sit in one of the blue plastic chairs and take out my papers. The deposit slip, my ID, the little notebook where I write everything down. Then I see her. Victoria. She's on the other side of the bank, in the executive section, talking to one of the managers. She's wearing a beige suit and high heels. Her hair is perfectly styled. She looks like she belongs in this place, as if the entire bank were her personal office. I try to make myself small in my chair, to become invisible, but it's too late. Victoria looks up and sees me. Her expression changes. A smile forms on her face, but it's not a kind smile. It's a smile of opportunity. She walks over slowly, her heels echoing on the marble floor. The manager is with her, a young man in a gray suit and a red tie. He looks uncomfortable. Eleanor, Victoria says in a loud voice. Too loud. What a surprise to find you here. I stand up. Victoria, good morning. You came alone? She looks around as if searching for someone. Michael didn't come with you? I don't need anyone to come with me. I just came to make a deposit. Victoria exchanges a look with the manager. Oh, of course. It's just that sometimes these transactions can be confusing, especially for people who aren't used to handling finances. The manager shifts uncomfortably. A few people in the nearby chairs start to watch. I handle my finances perfectly fine, I say in a low voice, trying to keep this private. Of course you do, Victoria says. But her tone suggests the opposite. It's just that Michael mentioned to me that you sometimes get confused with the numbers, that you save old receipts, that you keep track of everything in a little notebook instead of using the bank's app. I prefer my notebook. I've always kept my accounts this way. Victoria places a hand on my shoulder. The gesture seems affectionate, but her grip is firm. I know, but times have changed, Eleanor. Technology moves forward. The old ways aren't secure anymore. My ways work fine for me. They work? Victoria laughs softly and looks at the manager. Tell me, Mr. Davis, isn't it true that older people are the most vulnerable to bank fraud, to mistakes in their accounts? The manager, Mr. Davis, according to his nameplate, clears his throat. Well, it's true that we recommend our senior clients have someone they trust review their transactions. I am not an incapable senior citizen, I say, feeling the heat rise in my face. I'm 60 years old, and I've managed my own money my entire life. Of course, Victoria says, with that condescending tone. I know too well now. No one is saying you're incapable, just that it would be more prudent to have some help. In fact, Michael and I were thinking that perhaps we should be added to your account for emergencies, so we can help you if you need something. I freeze. Added to my account? As co-owners? It's a common practice in families, especially when parents start to get older. I'm not getting older. I don't need co-owners. Victoria sighs, as if she's dealing with a stubborn child. Eleanor, think about it. What if you get sick? What if you have an emergency and can't get to the bank? If Michael and I have access to your account, we could help you immediately. If I have an emergency, I'll handle it myself. With what? The question comes out quick, sharp. Victoria looks me straight in the eye. Forgive me for asking, but how much do you really have saved? That's none of your business. I'm your family. Of course it's my business. Victoria turns to the manager. Mr. Davis, could you please verify the balance of Mrs. Pacheco's account? Just so we can assess her financial situation and help her better. No, I say immediately. You do not have my permission to do that. The manager nods. We would need your authorization, Mrs. Pacheco. She doesn't have it. She won't get it. Victoria laughs again. That soft laugh that makes everything I say sound ridiculous. Eleanor, don't be paranoid. We just want to help. I don't need your help. Around us, more people are watching. An older woman looks at me with pity. A young man with headphones watches us with curiosity. I feel exposed, humiliated. Again. Look, Victoria says, lowering her voice slightly but not enough. I know this is difficult for you. Admitting you need help always is. But let's be realistic. You clean houses. You earn… what? $200 a week? $300? That's not your problem. It is my problem when I see my husband's mother living in poverty. When I know she doesn't have enough for a medical emergency. When I know that if something happens, Michael and I will have to pay for everything. I haven't asked you to pay for anything. Not yet. But you will. Victoria steps closer. And when that time comes, wouldn't it be better if we already had things organized? If we could access your account to manage your expenses? To make sure your money is being used correctly. My money is already used correctly. I use it. You? Victoria glances at my clothes, my worn shoes, my old purse. Eleanor, no offense, but it doesn't look like you know how to use your money very well. If you did, you wouldn't be wearing clothes from 10 years ago. I feel something snap inside me. These clothes are perfectly fine. For someone with no standards, perhaps. Victoria turns to the manager again. Mr. Davis, does the bank offer financial planning services for seniors? I think my mother-in-law could benefit from a consultation. Yes, we do offer that service, the manager says, clearly uncomfortable with the whole situation. Perfect. Could you schedule an appointment for us? For Mrs. Pacheco, my husband Michael, and myself. We want to make sure her finances are in order. I'm not going to any appointment, I say firmly. Eleanor, you're being irrational. I'm being clear. I don't want your help. I don't want your interference. I want you to let me manage my own life. Victoria stares at me for a long moment. The smile vanishes from her face. What's left is something cold, calculating, dangerous. All right, she says finally. If that's how you want to play it, I'll respect it, for now. She turns and walks back to her meeting with the manager. I'm left standing there, trembling, feeling all the eyes on me. When my number is called, I walk to the counter on weak legs. The teller smiles kindly at me. Good morning, Mrs. Pacheco. How can I help you? I need to make a deposit and check my balance. I process the deposit quickly. Then she hands me the receipt with the current balance. $3,200. It's not a lot, but it's mine. Every cent earned with my own work, with my own effort. Anything else? The teller asks. Yes. I want to make sure no one else can access my account. Only me. The teller nods. Your account is already solely under your name. Would you like to add any additional protection? What kind of protection? We can put a security note on it. Require a special password for any changes to the account. Notify you of any attempt to add co-owners. Yes, please, do that. While the teller processes the request, I look over to where Victoria is. She's looking this way. Our eyes meet. She smiles. I don't. I leave the bank with my papers clutched to my chest. The cool air hits my face, and I take a deep breath. My hands are still shaking. I walk quickly, wanting to get away from there. But I hear footsteps behind me. Heels on the pavement. Eleanor. Wait, it's Victoria. She catches up to me and walks by my side. Leave me alone, I say without stopping. I can't do that. Your family. You are not my family. You are my son's wife. There's a difference. Victoria grabs my arm, forcing me to stop. We're in the middle of the sidewalk, people passing around us. Listen to me carefully, she says, and her voice has nothing sweet in it now. I know what you're doing. I know you put protections on your account. The manager, Mr. Davis, is a friend of ours. He tells us everything. I don't care. It's my account. My money. For now. Victoria lets go of me but steps closer. But things are going to change, Eleanor. Whether you like it or not, Michael and I have plans. Plans that include making sure you are well taken care of. I don't want to be taken care of. It's not an option. Michael is your only son. Your only real family. What are you going to do? End up alone? Grow old alone in that house that's falling apart? My house is not falling apart. Not yet. But it will. And when that happens, when you can no longer work, when you can no longer take care of yourself, you're going to come crawling to us, begging for help. Never. Victoria laughs. They all say that. Until they get sick. Until they fall. Until they realize they can't do it alone. I'd rather die alone than live under your control. How dramatic. Victoria takes out her car keys. But that's fine. Play the independent woman all you want. Eventually, reality will catch up with you. And when it does, I hope you remember this conversation. That you remember you had the chance to do this the easy way. She walks away toward her car. A gleaming black Mercedes parked in a prime spot. She gets in, starts the engine, and drives off without a backward glance. I stand there on the sidewalk, with people rushing past me, feeling like I've just had an encounter with something far more dangerous than I thought. It's not just control Victoria wants. It's ownership. She wants to own me. She wants me to be completely dependent on her and Michael. She wants to eliminate every trace of my independence. And the most terrifying part is, she has my son completely on her side. I take out my phone with trembling hands and call Sarah. Eleanor, are you okay? No, I'm not okay. I need to see you. Now. I'm on my way to your house. No, let's meet at your apartment. I don't feel safe in my own home anymore. There's a silence. Then Sarah says in a serious voice, I'll be waiting. Get here quickly. I hang up and start walking toward the bus stop. I look back once, twice, 3 times, half expecting to see the black Mercedes following me. But there's no one there, just the weight of the conversation, the veiled threats, the certainty that something terrible is beginning to unfold. And I'm caught in the middle of it, trying to defend a life I built with my own hands against 2 people who believe they have the right to take it away. Sarah meets me at her apartment door with eyes full of concern. She hugs me tightly, and for the first time in days, I feel like I can breathe. Her home smells of fresh coffee and the flowers she always keeps on her kitchen windowsill. Sit down, she says, guiding me to the sofa. You look terrible. I feel terrible. She makes me a cup of coffee and sits across from me. I tell her everything, the encounter at the bank, Victoria's words, the barely disguised threats. Sarah listens without interrupting, but I see her expression harden with every detail. That woman is planning something, she says when I finish. Something big. I know, but I don't know what to do. Have you spoken to Michael? What for? He's completely blinded by her. He won't listen to me. Sarah takes my hand. Eleanor, you have to protect yourself. Protect your assets, your house, your money. I already put protections on my bank account. That's a start. But you need more. You need an updated will. documents that protect your property, maybe even talk to a lawyer. The thought of needing a lawyer to protect me from my own son breaks my heart. But Sarah is right. I don't have money for expensive lawyers, I say. I know someone. A friend's nephew. He does free consultations. I can ask him to see you. I nod, grateful. We spend the rest of the afternoon talking, planning, trying to find ways for me to protect myself. But deep down, we both know the real problem can't be solved with legal papers. The real problem is that I've lost my son. When I get back to my house that evening, there's an envelope under my door. I pick it up with trembling hands. It's thick, official. Inside are documents. Many documents. I read them once, twice, trying to understand the legal jargon. But the words eventually become clear. They are papers to transfer the deed of my house, to put it in Michael's name, with a handwritten letter from Victoria attached. Dear Eleanor, the letter begins. After our conversation today, Michael and I have been thinking a lot about your situation. We believe the best thing for everyone would be for the house to be in Michael's name. That way, when you can no longer live alone, there won't be any legal complications. We can sell it easily and use the money to pay for your care in a suitable home. You just need to sign where the yellow tabs are. Michael will stop by tomorrow to pick up the papers. We hope you understand that this is for your own good. With love, Victoria and Michael. I sit down on the floor of my living room with the papers in my hands. This house, my house. The one I bought on my own after years of work. The one I paid for, cent by cent. The one filled with memories of raising Michael. They want me to sign it away like it's trash. I call Michael immediately. He answers on the third ring. Mom. Michael, do you know about these papers? Yes. Victoria told me we left them for you. We left them? Michael, these are documents to take my house from me. We're not taking it from you. We're just putting it in a safer place. Safer? It's my house. Mom, please, don't start again. Don't start? You're trying to rob me. No one is robbing you. We're planning for your future. A future where you'll be well taken care of. I don't want you to plan my future. I plan my own future. Michael sighs, tired. I'm not going to argue about this over the phone. I'll stop by your house tomorrow. We can talk then. There's nothing to talk about. I'm not signing those papers. Mum? No, Michael. Not this time. This is my line. My house is mine. And neither you nor your wife are going to take it from me. There's a long silence. When Michael speaks again, his voice is cold, distant. All right, if that's your decision. But I want you to know something. Victoria and I have been paying for many of your expenses without you knowing. The roof repair last year, the furnace repairs, the gifts you thought were yours. It all came out of our pocket. I never asked you to pay for anything. You didn't have to ask. We did it because we're family. But if you're going to be like this, if you're going to refuse our help, then maybe it's time you start paying your own bills. I have always paid my own bills. Oh, really? Then I hope you have money saved up, because from now on, Victoria and I are no longer going to subsidize your life. The word subsidize hits me like a slap, as if I were a burden, a charity project. I don't need your subsidy, I say, though my voice trembles. Fine. See you tomorrow then, or not, it's up to you. He hangs up before I can answer. I sit there on the floor of my living room, surrounded by papers that want to steal my home, with my son's words echoing in my head. I take the documents and I tear them up, one by one, slowly, with rage, with pain. The pieces fall around me like dirty snow. Then I call Sarah again. I need that lawyer, I tell her, and I need him now. Michael arrives at my house the next day, at exactly 10 o'clock in the morning. Victoria is with him. I watch them from the window, getting out of the black Mercedes, walking toward my building as if they own the world. I touch the bag of torn papers, my small act of defiance, my way of saying no. When they knock, I take a deep breath before opening the door. Michael enters first, Victoria behind him. Neither of them greets me with a kiss. Neither asks how I am. Where are the papers? Victoria asks immediately. Right here. I take out the bag and empty it onto the table. The torn pieces scatter across the surface. Victoria stares at the destroyed documents, and her face transforms. The mask of kindness disappears completely. What's left is pure fury. What did you do? What I had to do. Protect what's mine. Michael walks to the table and picks up a few pieces. Mom, those documents cost money. Time. They were important. They were theft. It wasn't theft, Victoria says, her voice controlled. Dangerous. It was protection. But clearly, you don't understand the difference. I understand perfectly. I understand you want to take my house and put me in a nursing home. A residence, Victoria corrects. Not a nursing home. A nice residence where you'd have everything you need. What I need is my house, my independence, my life. Victoria laughs, but there's no humor in the sound. Your life? Look at your life, Eleanor. You clean toilets for a living. You live alone in this old apartment. You have no real friends, just that poor sister of yours who also has nothing. That's what you call a life? It's my life. And it's enough. It's not. Victoria steps toward me. And if you can't see that, then you really do need help. Professional help. What does that mean? Michael intervenes. Victoria and I have been talking. We think maybe you should see a doctor, a specialist, to evaluate your mental capacity. The words hit me like stones. My mental capacity? Mom, you're acting irrationally, destroying important documents, refusing help, being paranoid. I'm not paranoid. You're trying to control me. We're trying to help you, Victoria says. But if you can't see that, then maybe there really is a cognitive problem. Maybe your age is affecting your judgment. I am 60 years old, not 80. My mind is perfectly clear. Then prove it, Victoria says. Sign the papers. Agree to move in with us. Let us take care of you properly. Move in with you? They hadn't even mentioned that before. Michael looks away. It's something we were considering. We have space in our house. You could have your own room. A room? I have a whole house here. A house you can't maintain, Victoria says. Michael, show her. Michael takes out his phone and shows me pictures. Pictures of my house. Of the ceiling with a water stain. Of the peeling paint in the bathroom. Of the window that doesn't close properly. When did you take these photos? On your birthday. While you were distracted with the guests. I feel betrayed. You were snooping around my house. Documenting its condition, Victoria corrects, to show you that it needs repairs you can't afford. The roof alone is going to cost about $5,000 to fix. Do you have $5,000, Eleanor? I can get it. How? By working more? At your age? Victoria shakes her head. Let's be realistic. This house is falling apart. You can't maintain it. The sensible thing to do would be to sell it, move in with us, and use the money for your future care. I'm not selling my house. Then it will continue to deteriorate, until eventually the city declares it uninhabitable, and then you'll have no choice. You're lying. I'm being honest. Something you clearly can't handle. Michael sits on my sofa and puts his head in his hands. Mom, please. It doesn't have to be this way. We can solve all of this easily if you just trust us. Trust you? Michael, you're blackmailing me. You're threatening me. You're treating me like I'm incompetent. Because you're acting incompetent, Victoria says sharply. A competent woman would understand that her children only want what's best for her. She would accept help gracefully. This isn't help. It's chains. Victoria walks to the door and opens it. Michael, bring the boxes from the car. What boxes? The boxes to pack your mother's things. Since she's not going to cooperate, we'll have to do this another way. You're not packing anything. You're not touching my things. Michael doesn't move. He looks at Victoria, then at me, clearly torn. Michael, Victoria says in a voice of steel, go get the boxes. Victoria, maybe we should go get the boxes. Michael gets up slowly and leaves the apartment. I'm left alone with Victoria. You have no right. I tell her. This is my house. For now. Victoria approaches me. But let me explain how things are going to be. Eleanor, you are going to sign new papers. You are going to transfer this house into Michael's name. You are going to move in with us. and you are going to stop making scenes. Okay? Or we're going to have to take legal action. We will prove that you are not competent to live alone. We have pictures of the house. We have testimony that you destroy important documents. We can get a doctor to certify that you need supervision. You're crazy if you think that will work. I'm not crazy. I'm prepared. Victoria takes out her phone and shows me more pictures. Pictures of me. At the bank, arguing with her. On the street, in my old clothes. In my house, with the trash not taken out. I have all the evidence I need to paint you as an elderly woman who can't take care of herself. Those pictures are taken out of context. And who do you think is going to care? A judge is going to see a 60-year-old woman living in poverty, refusing help from her family. He's going to see a loving son worried about his mother. Who do you think he's going to believe? I feel dizzy. This is more than control. It's a complete plan. Calculated. Cruel. Michael returns with 2 large boxes. He puts them on the floor and looks at me with pleading eyes. Mom, please. Make this easy. No. Then we'll do it the hard way, Victoria says. She starts gathering my things, my photos, my books, my memories. Stop it. I try to take the things from her, but she pushes me away. Michael, help me. Michael stands there, frozen. For a moment, I think he's going to defend me, that he's going to stop this madness. But he doesn't. He starts packing too. I watch them fill boxes with my life, with my belongings, with everything that I am, and I can't stop them. I am one woman against 2 people who have decided that my life no longer belongs to me. This is illegal, I say, my voice breaking. You're breaking into my house and stealing my things. We're not stealing, Victoria says. We're protecting. And when the authorities come, if you call them, we're going to show them an elderly mother being cared for by her loving family. That she was confused, violent, paranoid. I'm none of those things. You will be when we're done. Victoria closes a full box and starts on another. Because that's what people will believe. An old, scared woman losing her mind. It's the easiest story to sell. I watch Michael pack the photo of his graduation. The photo of him as a baby in my arms. The memories of a life we shared. Michael, I say, please, I'm your mother. He doesn't look at me. He just keeps packing. Half an hour later, they leave. They take 3 boxes full of my things. Victoria leaves a paper on the table. The new documents, she says. You have 1 week to sign them. Or we proceed with the mental evaluation. Your choice. The door closes behind them. I'm left alone in my living room, which now looks empty, bare, violated. I slide to the floor, and for the first time in years, I cry. I cry for my lost son, for my violated home, for my life that is being ripped from my hands. But somewhere deep down, beneath the pain, something else begins to grow. Rage and determination. I didn't go back to my house that night. I couldn't. The apartment felt contaminated, violated. It was no longer my sanctuary. It was the place where my son and his wife had shown me I had no control over anything. I called Sarah from the street corner. She picked me up in her old car, the one that's 20 years old but that she keeps in perfect condition. She didn't ask any questions when she saw me with just my purse. She just opened the door to her home and let me in. Stay as long as you need, she said simply. That first night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake on Sarah's sofa, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every word, every threat. Victoria had planned everything meticulously. The photos, the documents, the lies about my mental state. And Michael, my son, had been there, packing my things, stealing my life, without a word in my defense. Do you want me to call the police? Sarah asked at 3 a.m, finding me awake. What for? They'll say it's a family matter, that Michael has a right to help his mother. They won't understand. Then the lawyer. First thing tomorrow. I nodded. It was the only thing I could do. The lawyer's name was David Chen. He was young, maybe 35, with thick glasses and a small office in a modest building. As I told him my story, he took careful notes. Do you have the deed to your house? He asked. Yes. In my safe deposit box at the bank. Good. As long as that deed is in your name, and you don't sign anything, the house is legally yours. No one can take it from you. And if they try to have me declared incompetent, David took off his glasses and cleaned them. That's harder than they think. They would need a real medical evaluation. A judge, solid evidence. A few photos and accusations aren't enough. But they could try. That's why you need to protect yourself. We're going to draw up a clear will, a power of attorney limited only to proven medical emergencies, and we'll document everything that's happening. I don't have much money to pay. This is pro bono, Mrs. Pacheco. Your sister told me your situation. No one should have to go through this. We spent 3 hours in his office. I signed documents, affidavits. I made it crystal clear that my house, my money, everything was mine. That no one had the right to make decisions for me unless I was medically incapacitated and only with certification from 2 independent doctors. When I left there, I felt a little stronger, a little more protected. The days passed slowly at Sarah's house. She worked part-time at a fabric store, and I was left alone during those hours, thinking, planning, trying to understand how I had reached this point. Michael called 3 times. He left messages. Mom, we need to talk. Mom, this is ridiculous. Mom, Victoria is worried about you. I didn't return his calls. Victoria also called. Once. Her message was short and cold. Eleanor, the week is almost up. You know what you have to do. Don't force us to take more drastic measures. Sarah found me crying after that message. Don't give them the satisfaction, she said. Don't give them your fear. What if they really do try to have me declared incompetent? Then we fight. With everything we have. One afternoon, 2 weeks after moving in with Sarah, I was making dinner when someone knocked on the door. It was a woman I didn't know. Young, with a clipboard. Mrs. Eleanor Pacheco? Yes. I have a summons for you. From Michael Pacheco and Victoria Lozano. I took the paper with trembling hands. It was a legal petition for a competency hearing to determine if I was capable of making my own decisions. The hearing date was in 3 weeks. Sarah read the document over my shoulder. Those sons of... Let's call David, I said, my voice shaky but firm. David reviewed the summons that same evening at Sarah's. This was expected, but it's also weak. They have no real evidence, just accusations. So what do? We prepare. We're going to get our own medical evaluations, letters from people who know you, evidence that you are completely competent, and we're going to countersue with documentation of the harassment. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I visited my doctor, who wrote a letter certifying that I was in perfect mental health. My neighbors signed statements about my character. My employers, the women whose houses I cleaned, wrote about my responsibility and competence. David built a solid case. But the fear was still there, a vibration in my chest every morning. The night before the hearing, Sarah and I sat in her small living room. She made tea, and we sat in silence for a long time. What if I lose? I finally asked. You're not going to lose. But what if I do, Sarah? What if the judge decides Michael and Victoria are right? It's not going to happen. Sarah took my hand. But even if it did, you're not alone. You will never be alone. That simple promise broke me. I cried in my sister's arms like I hadn't cried in years. For everything that was lost. For everything that was broken. For the son I no longer recognized. How did we get here? I whispered. How did my son become this? It wasn't your fault, Sarah said. Victoria changed him, manipulated him, but the Michael you raised is still in there somewhere. Maybe one day he'll wake up, and what if he doesn't? Sarah didn't answer, because we both knew that was a real possibility. On the morning of the hearing, I dressed in my best clothes. A simple but dignified suit that Sarah helped me pick out. I did my hair carefully. I put on a little makeup. I wanted to look like what I was, a competent, dignified woman in control of her faculties. In the courtroom, I saw Michael and Victoria for the first time in weeks. They were sitting on the other side with their own lawyer, an older man in an expensive suit. Michael wouldn't meet my eyes. Victoria did. She smiled at me, a small, triumphant smile, as if she had already won. The judge was a woman in her 50s with a serious expression. She listened to the arguments from both sides. Michael's lawyer presented the photos, the testimony that I had acted erratically, the accusations of paranoia. David presented our medical evaluations, the letters from neighbors and employers, the documentation of the harassment, the boxes stolen from my home. The judge asked questions. Of me, of Michael, of the doctors. When it was my turn to speak directly, I stood before the judge and told the truth. I am not crazy. I am not confused. I am just a woman, defending her right to live her own life. My son and his wife want to control me, not help me, and I refuse to allow it. The judge took notes. She reviewed documents. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she spoke. After reviewing all the evidence, I find no reason to declare Mrs. Pacheco incompetent. The medical evaluations are clear. Her testimony is coherent. Case dismissed. I felt my legs go weak. Sarah held me up. David smiled. On the other side of the room, Victoria shot to her feet. This is a mistake. She's clearly— Mrs. Lozano, the judge interrupted firmly. My decision is final, and I suggest you cease harassing Mrs. Pacheco, or you will face legal consequences. Victoria opened her mouth to protest, but her lawyer stopped her. We walked out of the courthouse. Sarah hugged me tightly. David congratulated me. I just felt a strange numbness. I had won. But it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like survival. Michael caught up to me on the courthouse steps. Mom, wait. I turned. My son looked tired, defeated, but not sorry. What do you want, Michael? This didn't have to go this far. You're right. It didn't. But you two pushed it here. Victoria just wanted. I don't care what Victoria wanted. I care that you, my son, tried to have me declared incompetent, that you tried to steal my house, my life. It wasn't stealing. It was protecting. It was control. And you failed. Michael looked down. I don't know what else to say. There's nothing else to say. I turned and walked toward Sarah's car. I didn't look back. That night, at my sister's house, I allowed myself to feel the relief, the victory, the freedom. But I also felt the loss, because even though I had won the legal battle, I had lost my son, and that loss hurt more than anything Victoria could have ever done to me. 6 months have passed since the hearing. 6 months of rebuilding my life, piece by piece. I moved back into my house after David confirmed there were no more legal threats. Sarah helped me clean, reorganize, make the space feel like mine again. I hired someone to fix the roof. It cost $4,000, not $5,000 like Victoria had claimed. I paid for it with my savings and by taking on extra work. I painted the walls myself. I fixed the window with help from my neighbor, Mr. Henderson. I returned to my routine, my houses, my work, my independence. But something had changed in me. I was no longer the woman who stayed quiet. I was no longer the woman who accepted humiliation to keep the peace. Michael never called again after the hearing. Not once. I didn't reach out to him either. Sarah came to visit twice a week. We would have coffee and talk about everything except Michael. His was a name we no longer spoke. Until one afternoon in November, my phone rang. An unknown number. Mrs. Pacheco? This is Cesar Olivares from the bank. I need to speak with you about a situation regarding your son. I felt my stomach tighten. What happened? Your son, Michael, attempted to use your house as collateral for a loan. Of course, he can't do that without your authorization. But I thought you should know. A loan? For how much? $150,000. The figure took my breath away. What does he need that much money for? I can't give you those details. I just wanted to inform you of the attempt. I hung up, my hands trembling. $150,000. What had happened? What kind of trouble was Michael in? Over the next few weeks, I started hearing things. Rumors. My neighbor Megan told me she'd seen Michael's Mercedes being towed. Mr. Henderson mentioned that someone from the building where Michael and Victoria lived had said they were moving to a smaller place. One afternoon, Sarah came to my house with news. Eleanor, you need to hear this. My friend works in the same office building as Victoria. She says the company fired her 3 months ago for embezzlement. Victoria was fired, and there's a lawsuit. The company is trying to recover money she apparently stole. The pieces started to fit together. The desperate loan attempt, the towed Mercedes, the move. I didn't feel satisfaction, just a deep sadness, because I knew that eventually Michael would come looking for me. And I was right. A month later, at 8 o'clock in the evening, there was a knock on my door. It was Michael. Alone. No Victoria. He looked terrible. Thinner. Dark circles under his eyes. His clothes were wrinkled. He was no longer the polished, successful man from months ago. "Mom," he said, his voice cracking, "I need to talk to you." I wanted to slam the door in his face. I wanted to tell him to leave. But he was my son. And despite everything, he was still my son. "Come in." He sat on the same sofa where months ago he had packed my belongings. He put his head in his hands. "It all fell apart," he finally said. "Everything." "What happened?" "Victoria, she was stealing money from her company. For the last 2 years. I didn't know, Mom. I swear I didn't know. And now? Now she has a lawsuit. They could send her to prison. And me, I co-signed some of her financial moves without knowing what she was doing. Now, I'm implicated too. Michael, we lost everything. The car, the luxury apartment, the savings, everything." He looked up, and I saw tears in his eyes, and she left me. As soon as things got hard, Victoria left. She said she wasn't going to stick around with a failure. I felt a mix of emotions. Pain for my son, rage at what he had done to me, a bitter satisfaction at the poetic justice. "And you're coming here, why?" "'Cause I have no one else." His voice broke completely. "Mom, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I'm sorry I tried to take your house. I'm sorry I believed her lies about you." "You're sorry now? Now that she's left you? Now that you've lost everything?" "I've been sorry for months. Since the day of the hearing. But I had too much pride to admit it. And then everything started to fall apart and I didn't know how to come back to you." I stayed quiet, watching him. This broken man who had been my little boy, my son, my whole world for so many years. "What do you want from me, Michael?" "I don't know. Maybe just for you to know that I regret it. That I understand everything I did wrong. That I lost the most important person in my life for a woman who never really loved me." "Where are you living now?" "In a rented room. Over by the industrial park. It's all I can afford with what little I have left." "And the lawsuit?" "The lawyer says I can avoid jail time if I cooperate. If I testify against Victoria. But I'll still have to pay fines, debts. It's going to take me years to recover." I took a deep breath. "Michael, what you did to me, what you both did, was one of the most painful things in my life. I know. You tried to have me declared incompetent, steal my house, control my life. I know, Mom. And I have no excuse. Victoria manipulated me, yes, but I chose to listen to her. I chose to believe her over you. That was my decision, and it was wrong." At least he had that honesty now, that acknowledgement. "What did you expect to find here?" I asked. "I don't know. Maybe just forgiveness. I don't expect you to help me. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that you were right, about everything, about Victoria, about me, about what was happening." He stood up to leave. He walked to the door. He put his hand on the knob. "Michael," I said. He stopped. "Are you hungry?" He turned. In his eyes, I saw surprise, hope, a fear of hoping. "Mom, you don't have to." I asked if you're hungry. Yes, I'm hungry." "Sit down. I'll make something." As I cooked in my small kitchen, I felt his eyes on me. The silence between us was filled with everything unsaid. All the pain, all the betrayal, but also something else. The possibility of something new. I served him a simple plate of food, chicken and rice. The same thing I used to make him when he was a boy. Michael ate in silence. I saw tears fall onto his plate. "Mom," he said finally. "I don't deserve your kindness." "No, you don't. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to give it to you." "Why?" "Because I'm your mother. And despite everything that happened, you are still my son. I failed you. Yes, you failed me tremendously. Can you ever forgive me?" I took my time answering, because I wasn't going to lie to him. I wasn't going to tell him everything was okay when it wasn't. "I don't know, Michael. Forgiveness takes time, and trust, and you destroyed all my trust in you." "I understand. But," I continued, "I can give you the chance to rebuild it. Little by little. With actions, not with words." "What does that mean?" "It means if you want to have a relationship with me again, it's going to be on my terms. With respect, with boundaries. No manipulation, no control. I'll accept anything." "Don't say that now. Say it over time. Prove it." Michael nodded. He finished his food. He stood up to wash his plate. "Leave that," I said. "I'll get it." "Mom, please, let me do something." I let him wash the plate. A small gesture, insignificant, but it was a start. Before he left, he stood at the door again. Can I visit again?" "Call first. Ask. Don't assume." "I will. And Michael, if Victoria ever comes back into your life in any way, if you ever choose her again over the truth, over decency, over me, then that will be the last time you ever see me. Do you understand?" "I understand. And I promise you, that will not happen. Victoria showed me who she really is, and I showed her who I am when I follow the wrong person." He left. I watched him walk down the street from my window, his shoulders slumped, his pace slow. A man who had lost everything and was only just beginning to understand the price of his choices. I didn't feel victory. I didn't feel satisfaction at his downfall. I only felt a deep sadness for all the lost time, for all the needless pain. But I also felt something else. Something small, but real. Hope. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But someday, maybe, we could find our way back to each other. Or maybe not. And I had to be at peace with both possibilities. 8 months have passed since that night Michael came to my door. 8 months of slow reconstruction. Of small steps. Of learning to trust again. Or at least to try. Michael called the following week. He asked if he could visit. I said yes. He came with a bouquet of flowers from the grocery store. Nothing fancy. Simple flowers that probably cost $5. But they were honest. We sat and had coffee. We talked about small things. The weather. His new job at a hardware store. How he was paying off his debts, little by little. He didn't mention Victoria. I didn't ask. The visits became regular, once a week. Always calling first. Always asking if it was a good time. Always respectful. One day, he brought tools and fixed the bathroom door that always stuck. Another day, he helped me move a heavy piece of furniture. Small gestures. Actions that spoke louder than words. Sarah was still cold to him when they crossed paths. She hadn't forgiven him. Maybe she never would. And I respected that. She had been there when no one else was. She had seen my pain up close. "Are you sure about this?" she asked me one afternoon after Michael left. "Letting him back into your life?" "I'm not sure about anything," I answered honestly. "But he's my son. And if there's a chance he's learned, that he's really changed, I want to give him that chance. But carefully, always carefully." In April, Michael invited me to his rented room for dinner. It was a tiny space with a bed, a small table, and a 2-burner hot plate. So different from the luxury apartment where he had lived with Victoria. He made spaghetti. Simple, but well made. We ate at that small table, and for the first time in over a year, we had a real conversation. No tension, no masks. "Did you hear anything about Victoria?" I finally asked. It was the first time I'd mentioned her name in months. Michael put down his fork. "She's in prison. They sentenced her to 4 years for fraud. I testified against her. It was harder than I thought it would be." "Do you still love her?" "No. I don't think I ever really loved her. I loved the idea of her. The status. The image. But the real person, the one I saw in those last few months, that person was a stranger. Someone capable of destroying lives without blinking. She destroyed you. No, Michael said, looking at me directly. I destroyed myself. She just gave me the tools. I chose to use them. That honesty was new. Painful, but real. So what now? I asked. Now I rebuild. I pay my debts. I work an honest job. And I try to earn back even a small piece of the relationship with my mother. If she'll let me. I'm letting you. But Michael, if you ever go back to… I won't. Mom, I learned my lesson the hardest way possible. I lost everything. My money, my reputation, my dignity. But the worst thing I lost was your trust. And I know that takes years to earn back. Maybe I'll never get it back completely. But I'm going to try every single day. In June, a letter arrived at Sarah's apartment. It was from Victoria, from prison. I opened it with trembling hands. It was short. Eleanor, I don't expect your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know that you were right about everything. I was a manipulator, a liar, a thief. I destroyed your son. I tried to destroy you, and now I'm paying the price. I'm not writing this to ask for pity, just so you know that you won. Not because I lost, but because you never let me break you. That's something I could never understand. Your strength, your quiet dignity. I wish I'd had even a fraction of it. Victoria. I showed the letter to Sarah. She read it and tore it into pieces. You don't need her validation, she said. You already knew all that. I know, but it was important for her to say it. Are you going to write back? No. There's nothing to say. And it was true. Victoria was part of a closed chapter, a painful chapter that had taught me so much about boundaries, about strength, about the value of defending what is yours. In September, Michael got a better job, a supervisor at a construction company. It didn't pay a lot, but it was honest. He told me excitedly about his first day, like a child sharing an achievement with his mother. And for the first time in a long time, I felt proud of him, not for his salary or his title, but for his humility, for his ability to get back up after hitting rock bottom. Mom, he told me that day, I want you to know something. I've been going to therapy for 5 months now. Therapy? To understand how I let Victoria manipulate me so much. To work on my own issues, my need to impress people, how I confused love with control. I'm glad you're doing that. The therapist says that a part of me was always looking for your approval, but in all the wrong ways, trying to show you I was successful, rich, important, when what you really wanted was for me to be good, decent, honest. I always wanted that, I said softly. I never cared how much money you made. I only cared about what kind of man you were. I know that now. I wish I had known it sooner. On my 61st birthday, Michael showed up with a small cake from the neighborhood bakery. It wasn't fancy. There weren't 80 guests. Just him, Sarah, and me in my living room. Sarah still eyed him with suspicion. But when Michael helped me blow out the candles and then insisted on serving the cake, I saw her expression soften just a little. Another year, I said, looking around my living room, my house, my life, which I had defended with tooth and nail. A better year, Michael said. And he was right. It was better. Not perfect. Not without scars, but better. That night, after Michael left and Sarah had gone home, I sat alone on my sofa, the same sofa where months earlier I had watched my son pack my things, the same space where I had felt I was losing everything. But I hadn't lost everything. I had lost an illusion, the illusion of a perfect family, of a son who would always do the right thing. But I had gained something more valuable. I had gained the knowledge of my own strength, the certainty that I could defend my own life. The peace of knowing I didn't need anyone's approval to validate my existence. My phone rang. It was Michael. Mom, I just wanted to say happy birthday again. And thank you for giving me this chance. You're welcome, son. Mom? Yes? I love you. And I know those words don't mean much after everything. But I'm going to prove it to you, every day, for the rest of my life if I have to. I know, Michael. Good night. Good night. I hung up and looked around my home. The walls I had painted myself, the roof I had repaired, the furniture I had chosen, my space, my life, my dignity, intact. I had been through the fire. I had been humiliated, attacked, nearly destroyed. But I had survived. And more than survived, I had emerged stronger. I didn't know if I would ever fully forgive Michael. I didn't know if our relationship would ever be what it once was. Maybe it would. Maybe it wouldn't. But I had learned something fundamental. My worth didn't depend on anyone else. Not my son, not his approval, not his presence in my life. I was enough. I had always been enough. I stood up and walked to my bedroom. Tomorrow would be another day of work, of life, of moving forward. But this time, I would do it with my head held high, with the certainty that no one, ever again, would take what was mine. Not my home, not my dignity, not my peace, because I had learned the most important lesson of all. True strength doesn't shout. It doesn't fight for attention. It doesn't seek revenge. True strength simply remains, firm, silent, unbreakable. And that strength was mine, forever. I closed my bedroom door, and for the first time in over a year, I slept deeply, without fear, without worry, without pain, just with the peace of knowing I had won the most important battle, the battle for my own soul. And no one could ever take that victory away from me. Never.